What's up? What's up? What's up, family? How you guys doing on tonight? Listen, me and my sisters, we are so excited to be with you guys on tonight to have a little bit of a girl talk. So listen, in this moment, take a moment to share with your friends, share with all your girlfriends, grab your snacks, grab your water, grab your coffee, whatever you want to grab to munch on tonight. As we sit around and we just chat about life. So I'm going to introduce my girls one by one. In the meantime, share this broadcast with all of your friends. Hey, Shavonda's in the chat, you guys. um, Share this with all of your friends and all of your sisters. Hey, Joe. All right, guys. So look, let's start with Bree. I'm gonna bring Bree up first. Hey,
Hey,
girl.
hey.
So, Bree, tell us a little bit about yourself, sister. Who you are, what you
Well,
do.
by profession, I am a licensed counselor supervisor. So currently, I'm the director of clinical services at the Family Tree
Okay.
in Lafayette, here in Lafayette. So again, we provide counseling and support to families, kids, adults, couples. So I love doing that. That's my passion. And now I'm kind of have this newfound passion of kind of helping upcoming counselors, and supporting them in doing what we do. Been in ministry for quite a long time. Um, that's music ministry. So a
Mhm.
lot of people will know me from playing bass. I've
Yeah.
played uh, for a lot of different churches, and mainly I came up in Lighthouse for Jesus. So a lot of people know me
Yeah.
from there. A lot of people know me from gospel rap.
Yes.
My husband do a lot of that as well, so people have seen that. And I just really love ministry of all types. I love my family. I'm married. I've been married for about 4.5 years. It's going to be 5 years in September. And I have a bonus son who's growing, and I just um, love my family. I love ministry. I love people in general, so I'm just really enjoying life, growing, changing, and just navigating everything that kind of comes in the process of that, learning to take in the journey.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'm glad to have you. Johanna put in a comment. She said, come on, gospel rap. Hey, Charmaine. Charmaine's in the comments. And Jennifer. Hi, Jennifer. Jennifer says, good evening, ladies. It's my first time here. So, hey, girl.
Well,
Welcome to Girl Talk. All right. Next up, we got Cabrina. Hey, girl. You on mute, sis. There
Yeah, I
you
have
go.
myself on mute so you can hear all the stuff because my husband is watching basketball. So I'm just trying to make sure that y'all don't hear his anger for the winning or losing team. Uh, but like she said, I'm
Girl,
Kabrina.
Laura is my best.
So be quiet. So we're tired. But I'm Kabrina. Like she said, I currently work at Casa of Sola, where we train volunteers to advocate for children in foster care. To be reunified with their birth parents, if at all possible. So, shameless plug if you're looking to volunteer seriously, that's where you need to be.
Seriously, though.
Yes, because the children need you. Okay.
Yes.
Um, I am married. I've been married for 3 years. My husband and I have been together for 5 years. Um, I am on the worship team at Destiny of Faith. About 4 years now. I think about 4 years.
Something like
What
that.
else? Yeah, something like that. Something like that. 4 years. But yeah, that's me for the most part.
Awesome. Awesome. You sound like you love what you do.
I
She said,
do. I absolutely do.
seriously.
My my passion is basically like closing gaps. Like there's too
Yeah.
many needs for us to be working on things that don't matter or
Yeah.
focusing on things that don't matter. There's too many needs,
Mm,
too many gaps to be filled, and too many people available and not allowing
right.
themselves to be available to fill those gaps. So
mm,
that's ultimately my
Wow.
passion. That's what I love to do. I love to serve people, help people, all of
Mhm.
those things that come into bridging gaps. So that's my
Yeah,
passion.
that's good. That's good. Yes. Karina has a huge heart, y'all. Y'all, so let me tell you. So today, listen, before we get to my other sisters, today I had a wardrobe malfunction at church, right? I had a hole in my pants.
Lord help her.
And so I text Sabrina. I said, I got to run home. I got a wardrobe malfunction. And she said, do you need me to bring you something? I was like, no.
Crazy.
But I said that to say she's always serving. Like she's just always serving. Hey, Brittany. Brittany says, hey, y'all, in the comments. All right. So Lena.
Hey,
Hey, girl.
hey. So I'm Lena Richardson. I am married to my husband that I love so much. It's my high school sweetheart. We've been actually married as of April. Me and Kabrina, we have the same anniversary.
Yes. April 13th,
But
that's the day.
yeah,
Y'all got to get on that day.
yeah. So
Y'all got the same anniversary and the same middle part. Ain't that something?
Come on, little part.
Yeah.
God knew
Yeah.
he was doing so. But it made 8 years. We have our son Elijah. He's 5, and I am a lifestyle coach, so I try to help people, eat different to kind of avoid, those diagnoses. It's strictly for prevention of diabetes, but obviously eating clean and better is going to help you with a lot of different illnesses that could end up plaguing you if you keep eating bad. And of course, Louisiana love their rice and gravy. So us coming from Florida, we was like, we need a gym. Well, we need an apartment, we need a gym, and we need to educate because this is not good. And so we have a passion for health and wellness. And so I'm also the owner of the Rich Juice, Fresh Pressed Juice. And that's pretty much what I do is just educate and try to help people the best way that I can with holistic approaches. So that's what I do. And I go to Destiny of Faith as well.
Oh,
I'm
yes.
excited to be with you ladies and learn, take some notes.
Yes. Johanna said, hey, juice lady sister.
Hey, my juices. Hey, girl.
I don't know if y'all can see the comments on y'all's screen. I don't know if y'all can see that, but I see them from Facebook and YouTube on mine. And most people are watching from Facebook right now.
Okay.
But they're all saying hello in the comments.
Hey.
All right.
I pulled it up on my phone so I can see the comments.
Okay, cool. Yeah. All right. So Sharon, bringing up my sister Sharon. Hey.
Hi. Hey, girl. Hey. Hey, girl. Hey.
Hey, girl. Hey.
Hi. I am Sharon. I co-pastor a church called the Harvest Center here in Lafayette, Louisiana. Whoop whoop. We are currently, I am currently the director at the Harvest Learning Center. We're opening that up. We want to open it up in September. So the hard opening, we'll try to do that during the school year. So we'll offer golf training there. We'll have our inner city school of golf there. That's my husband's main passion. And then we'll be tutoring and after school programming and things like that there. So we know that God is doing that there. I used to be a teacher at Acadiana High. I taught there for a couple years, for sure, all through the pandemic. Been there. I have 3 beautiful children. One is a senior. She's getting ready to graduate.
Yes.
Next week on Thursday, she'll be graduating. So I'm so happy for that. I have one in AAU basketball, which that is where he is at now. And then I have a little one. He's 8, Dylan. My husband and I have been together or been married for 16 years. I did the math, ladies. We talked earlier and I couldn't get it. I didn't know if it was 15, 14. I'm telling y'all, I hear all the 4 and 5s and stuff. You lose count.
Yeah.
So loud. I'm like, I'm just with you. I'm just with you, Bo. I'm just with you. I just love you. That's it. When we get to 20, we're going to be like, is it 20 yet? That's it. So I just love him. I love my dark chocolate. I really do. The good, the bad, the ugly. We may not agree
Mhm.
on everything, but I love them. So that's me. That's what we are.
Awesome, 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 awesome. I was sharing with Sharon earlier. I love how big of a heart she has for people, just in general, and how she goes the extra mile to serve the least of these. You know, people that that many of others may not approach to serve.
Right.
She does that. She does that. And I remember, Sharon, I don't know if you remember this, but one day we were having a conversation. I don't know if it was text or Facebook or something. Somebody had posted about not knowing what to do where the homeless were concerned. And
Right.
do you give money? Do you give this? You know, whatever. And so you had given an idea of just always having gift cards on hand. Like if you're not comfortable with, and so yeah, that was a really good idea. That was a really good idea.
$5 gift cards, $5 gift cards to
Yeah.
McDonald's, any little place.
Mhm.
Lena, if you got gift card certificates,
Uh-huh.
send them on over, Lena, so they can
Yes.
drink right.
Yes. Yes.
Things. You don't always have to give
Yes.
your money. Gift cards, absolutely.
That's a good idea. I never thought about that.
Yeah, like when she said that, I was like, you know what? I never really thought about that. So that's what I've been doing since then is like getting gift cards. Like if I go to Wendy's, get my little faux.
It's stretched. It's stretched.
I would do that and pick up.
variety.
I would do that and pick up a $5 gift card because I normally go to the Wendy's like on Ambassador and there's always a man or a lady sitting under that tree.
Mhm.
So I just think about it every single time. It was such a great idea. Such a great idea. Thank you.
Yay.
All right, last but not least, we have Taylor. Hey, girl.
Hey y'all, how y'all doing?
Hey, tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Taylor Francis. As y'all see in my name, it says Future Smith. I'm still in the early stages of excited that I'm engaged, y'all. So I'm sorry.
Yes. Hey.
People that follow me on Instagram be like, all right, I know, and don't follow me on TikTok because I'm gonna TikTok y'all out with this ring. You understand? What, Cabrina? I seen you.
I ain't saying nothing. I ain't saying nothing.
I was just checking.
I'ma just say that I follow her on TikTok. I follow her on all social media. Look, you would think she don't have a right hand because all she do is show her left hand.
Thank you, like at work, y'all. That's a great at work. I was so which leads me to say, like they say, I am a behavioral therapist. I work in ABA, applied behavioral analysis. I work with children with autism. My youngest is 18 months, my oldest is 10. So we pretty much go in and work via program. So we build a program for the child depending on what their needs are. A lot of people think autism and think they are nonverbal. What we don't know, culturally diverse, is that autism comes in different types of forms. And being here in Houston, it's highly peaked in Pakistanians and Indian culture. I work with predominantly Indians, Pakistanians with my children. And I really love it because it has opened my eyes to a whole different side of autism. My mom's a nurse, so I grew up looking at autism, but I had one definition of it. That's it. So when I get to probe the children that we work with and do their assessments, I get to see a whole different side of being on the spectrum, as we would say. So it's really, really interesting. And one day I was working with one of our baby tunes, is what we call that age group, and he's 2. And so I was sitting down, and it was his time to just kind of like play by himself. So y'all, I'm sitting down. I'm sitting down on the floor, and he's literally right next to me. And so he had strawberries that day, and it was literally a week that I've been engaged on. So strawberry kind of got stuck in my ring. So I was just kind of sitting on the floor looking at it, and not just my boss, the owner walks in, and she's amazing. She walks in and she goes, "Taylor, you are looking at your ring and you have a child with you. Like, oh my God, like I'm calling your fiance." It was the biggest thing. So now she put like this fake joke in the policy: when you get engaged, you're no longer allowed to wear your engagement ring. But
wow,
it was funny. it was hilarious. But to say the least, I'm super excited about this next part of my life. And this next journey. It's one thing to feel, when people ask you, so how do you feel? I still haven't had the words to describe to them, like, how does it feel? Growing up, marriage was never like my top priority, right? It was never like, oh, I want to get married, I want to have children. That was never on the top of my to-do list. So when you do meet someone that does come and change your views on that, it's really exciting, and it's such a blessing to really be able to walk in that. So people are like, so when's the wedding? Where is it? And I really just tell them I'm enjoy being engaged. I think we've missed that part of just being engaged, and engage, which is engaging with one another, continue to grow with one another, embracing the process with one another. So I'm in that part of my life, and I'm just really excited to have girl talk, just to sit back, to just talk about things that we just don't normally talk about. And y'all know that's my favorite thing to do.
Yeah. So Taylor, if you don't mind, I would like to kick it off, because you were in our last conversation in the Overcoming series.
Yes.
You shared kind of how, just about your journey with, like, bad breakups. You even shared about, being ghosted. We kind of talked about that, and it was live. And so just how did you overcome that season and walking into this new season? What's different for you?
A lot of things.
Yeah.
And what's amazing is, it's so cliche that they're like, yeah, but when you start focusing on yourself and start doing all this, then it just happens. Legit. Being ghosted, actually going from being single and being happy and full of joy and being complete, like, okay, I'm single, it's fine. I'm okay with being myself. I call myself kind of like a loner, but I like to be around people. But when I like myself, my time, I like my time. And so going into that place of having to get over and really be intentional on, man, you got ghosted. And it's funny when somebody else, or when you're on Facebook and you go through these stories, when you hear about it, it's hilarious. But when you're going through it, it's legit the worst time of my life. And it was at such a difficult time for me. I just moved in October. I started seeing this guy. I'm doing all of this stuff. We're together, long distance, and all of a sudden, like, you just stopped talking to me. But what was not caught by surprise was that I knew he was going to stop talking to me before he did. And I told one of my good friends, and she was like, girl, you just be making up stuff. And it's like, no, sometimes you ask for signs. Like, and my mom tells me this now. She's like, I prayed for that to go away. Like, I knew it. And we have mothers on the line. I know what it's like as a daughter listening to your mom say, I'm praying for you. And you're like, bro, I don't want you to pray that away. Like, I want that. Like, I want him to talk to me. Like, I want to be with that man. Like, okay, girl. Like, and y'all remember, like, one time she's like, enjoy while it lasts, because it's not going to be here long. I'm like, yo, like, you are not supportive of my dream. She's like, yeah, girl, that's a dream. That's all it is. Like, that's it. So get there. And I just remember, like, Taylor, you are graced for this. Like, you are going to go through this, and you're going to thank God that you did not stay. And sure enough, fast forwarding, I'm thanking God that I did not stay. And when you're in something, it doesn't feel like it's not where you're supposed to be. It feels comfortable. It feels warm. It feels, okay, this is it. Like, you're moving, you're shaking, you're grooving. But I had to ask myself, is this where you wanted to be, or is this what you wanted and you didn't want the world to know that you had a failed relationship? So were you just going to stay because you didn't want nobody to know, oh, I didn't put this man on Instagram and all of this is happening.
Wow.
And now I'm going to be embarrassed. And that is, like, one of my things is, y'all, I'm like the poster child for please don't embarrass me. Like, please don't embarrass me, man. Like, don't do it. And then it happened. So now I have to you know, you done said all this stuff to people, right? Because we women, and you buy the dress before the wedding, before you even be with somebody, like you preparing yourself, all this stuff. So I literally had to go through a phase of going back to what I know about myself.
Yeah.
You are still loved. You are beautiful. You are worthy. You do
Mhm.
deserve to be happy. You deserve to walk in and have your head held high. And if you are embarrassed, what's is it? Are you ashamed, or are you ashamed that people know?
Right.
Mhm.
That's a difference. And
Yeah.
sometimes I think we walk in a place of shame, but only sometimes we know what we've done. Other people don't know.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And so I had to tell myself, so what? They've done things that we don't know. And I
Right.
tell people all the time, we glorify things that we have no clue on how people got there or
Right.
what they had to do to get to that point. So I'm like, and they're like, oh my God, I want them to treat you like X, Y, and Z. Yeah, but y'all don't know that I didn't talk to that person for 7 days
Right.
before they gifted me all this stuff. But if
Mhm.
that's what you think is glorious, then okay, you can have it too. But is that what you really want? And so going through that process, my December was tough. And as I'm transitioning over um, into a whole nother realm of talking to somebody else, you know, and he asked me on a date, my now fiance, I'm like, yeah, I'm going, but I'm going to get over something else. I'm not going to enjoy the process. I'm not going to, you know, so, and I remember conversations we had after that. He was like, yeah, you were, the whole time you looked sad. And I'm like, I thought I looked happy, but obviously he saw something there that I didn't see. And so it was a time of truly, literally a year getting over a process and constantly coming up in my mind, okay, is he going to leave me? Is he going to ghost me? Is he like, am I good enough? Am I worthy enough? Is he going to stick around? And you don't think about that stuff, but that brings up all kind of childhood stuff that you thought you were over.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's things that you have gone to
Mhm.
therapy for, and you're like, wait, I thought I was healed in this area. And
Mhm.
truth be told, it was not a healing, it was just something that you put a band-aid over,
Mhm.
and now the band-aid got ripped. So now you're like, okay, now I really have to, I can
Yeah.
no longer pick at the scab.
Right.
So
Right.
transitioning over now, I have a lot to say that it has been a journey. Like it has been a journey, but to see the fruit on the other side is so rewarding. And I think that's why I cannot explain how I feel when people ask how do you feel about being engaged? I'm really joyous. I know this is somebody that has loved me, that has encouraged me. And
Mhm.
if I get emotional, I'm sorry in advance. But that was there in the time that I didn't believe in myself in a lot of things.
Yeah.
He was there to clap for me when I didn't want to clap for myself. He was there
Mhm.
to push me when I wasn't there to push myself. He was there to tell me in school, like, it's okay if you fail, it's fine. I'm
Mhm.
still going to be there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so to be on the other side is so rewarding to know
Yeah.
that it can happen to me too. It can
Mhm.
happen to me too. I am not excluded. And when you do go to church, you hear that, like you're not excluded.
Mhm.
But to walk into it and to know I am
Mhm.
not excluded from this blessing. Like
Yeah.
my past did not define that I was unworthy of receiving this blessing. Am I
Mhm.
perfect? No, I'm not. But I know that I'm graced for this. And I know that my reward is just this is just a small token of God saying, hey,
Yeah.
well, great job. This is
Yeah.
just a little piece of what's going to come. So it was a journey. It was a
That's
journey.
That's beautiful. Look, Taylor, people, Pastor Brenda said, thank you for sharing, Taylor. Real talk. Johanna says, so good. Love your honesty and transparency. Thank you for like being that open and sharing with us. Taylor shared her story. If you get a chance, you can check out one of my overcoming series. She shared a good bit of it in that JC. She said, Charmaine said, thank you for sharing. Great job. Growth process. Yes. So, does anybody else want to respond to that? I mean, I'm just thinking about. Oh, go ahead, Kabrina. Go ahead.
I mean, I can just
Before,
the
before
whole
you
thing about.
respond, I want to let y'all know my computer keeps like glitching. So if something weird happens and I disappear, just keep going. Just keep going. I don't know what's going on. It's like glitching. But go ahead, Kabrina.
Yeah, so me and Taylor have walked through some stuff together, so I know. But ultimately, as far as people asking, how do you feel? Like bask in it, enjoy it, because it's always what's the next thing? When's the wedding? After the wedding is when it's kids. When you know what I'm saying. So live in the moment. Ultimately, because you said it's so rewarding in the fact that you're walking in it now. Walk in it and live in it and enjoy it, because the next thing will come so fast and just like, man, I don't even remember everything everything that I did. I don't. Oh, that did happen. Oh, I gotta remember that too. You know what I'm saying? So definitely live in those moments, because it'll breeze by so quickly.
Mhm.
Especially after you get married. You know, you want to always. You kind of lose things that you had during engagement, during dating, during courting season. You kind of lose track of some of those things into your marriage. You gotta backtrack and figure out, why did we do this in the first place? You know what I'm saying? Why did we decide to get married in the first place? You know, so definitely live in those things. And also, when you said something about your mom, moms know before we know. Like, I have conversations with my mom now that I'm an adult. So there's some things that you can talk to your mom about that you couldn't before. You know what I'm saying? Because that was your parent. That's your. So just having conversations, she was like, "Oh yeah, I already knew about you know, I know that was the I knew you wasn't lasting. I knew you wasn't gonna be around." And then when you bring somebody home, you're like, "Okay, this is it." You know, they ultimately know everything before we know. And then at the time when they're telling us, we don't know a thing.
No.
We don't know anything.
Nothing.
And then when we come back, we're like, "Okay, you was right. I can give you that. You do know some things. You're a mother,
You do know
something."
something.
I told my mom all the time. I said, "You know something. You kind of smart. You know, I figured I had to get it from somewhere, but you do know some stuff."
Right.
So yeah, sis. But I mean, just seeing you, you deserve everything that you're getting. Like we talked about this. You know, you deserve good things. You are not exempt. You know what I'm saying? You spend so much time pouring into other people, speaking life into other people, and now is your turn.
So good. That's good.
Okay.
That's my piece.
That's good. That's good. Well, so speaking of marriage, four of you are married, and then Taylor is engaged. So, thinking on marriage and just thinking on vows, how do you navigate through those difficult seasons that Kabrina was talking about? She said sometimes we got to backtrack. Sometimes we got to backtrack and remember why we did this and did that. And thinking about the term in sickness and in health, like how do you navigate through those seasons? Because sometimes we can think of sickness and we can narrow it down to just a physical sickness, but we've been talking about mental health for a while. We've been talking about just all kinds of stuff and before we got on live. Before we got on live. And so, like, how do you navigate through those 6 seasons, whether it's physical, mental, or just something difficult? How you
Jesus.
Jesus. Put a stamp on that.
But I
Well,
can say
Jesus, for sure.
one thing about it, like and I always tell people this in the sense of marriage. And it's just just my opinion. I really believe that marriage is something that God created. So holding on to Jesus in the midst of it is imperative. He's the cheat code. And I always tell, people say love nailed Jesus to the cross. And I always say not so much. Love was there. Definitely love was there, but what got Jesus to the cross was the fact that he was a covenant keeper.
Right.
And he had a covenant with his people, and there's a scripture that said for the joy that was set before him. And so when you think about marriage, when you think about going through difficult seasons, sometimes what helps you to endure is the joy that's set before you, because both you and your spouse are becoming. you know, and God is processing both of you. And sometimes he's using you to process your spouse, and he's using your spouse to process you. so sometimes the things that are aversive and the things that you have the hardest time with, it really is God trying to work that in you. For me, it's because I actually have gone through divorce before. So in this marriage, to my husband, fear is something that I constantly had to battle, you know, and I heard Taylor alluding to it, because you're afraid, like, well, if I do something wrong, am I going to lose this? If I do something wrong, is he gonna, you know, and you battle with that. But one thing that I learned is you have to trust God for your marriage. You have to trust God for your husband. You have to trust God for yourself. And there are times when I'm praying like, Lord, this is your son.
Right.
You know how to reach him. You know how you fashion him. You know how he's built and made. So give me an ear to hear him like you want me to see him like you want me to interact with him. Give me the words, you know, and it's really falling back on God to do it, because I always say one of the things that kills relationships is familiarity.
Yeah.
You know, we get so used to the other person, and we take it for granted, and we take God for granted and how necessary he is in the midst of that union. And we just get familiar. We're going through the motions. And a lot of times the enemy kind of creeps into that, you know. And I always, you know, tell people, you know, I always empower women, but it's a joke, but I still use it. I said, God created everything and everything was good. And the first thing that he said wasn't good was that man was alone.
That's right.
And then he created a woman. So women, wives, you are the answer to a problem. And it's just about owning that and understanding that that our nature, our very nature, the nature that God created women in, with gentleness and nurturing, that answers and that calms a lot of the struggles that that Adamic nature of our husbands might bring to the table, you know. And it's just really embracing it and praying.
Amen.
That's good. Well, I guess to piggyback off of Bree, I 100% agree with that. I feel that if everything is God centered, then you have that balance because it's God centered. But sometimes you can get caught up in life and bills and whatever else is going on that probably ain't got nothing to do with you, but it affects you some kind of way, whether it's from social media or whatever. You can get lost. And so you have to remember, like, I forgot who said it, why did we get married? I think that was you, Kabrina. Why did we get married? And remembering, like, oh, this is my best friend. So let's pretend that this is your best friend, your girlfriend. Y'all gonna have your little, you got discord, but y'all gonna, if they need you, you're there. Right. You're gonna love on them regardless. Like, okay, that's water the bridge. Let's move forward. Right. And I guess as you all were talking, I'm hearing the Holy Spirit, like, you need to, I'm like, I need to do what? I ain't ready for that. I didn't prepare for that. But just to be transparent, you know, especially with the pandemic, everybody was having a rough season. I don't care if you was married, single, in between, whatever. It was rough. And with me having 2 miscarriages back to back, and then my husband losing his brother, and then losing his sister to COVID, that was a lot. And still processing through it. Yeah. But the question that was in sickness and health and with mental health. Yeah. In that, and when people would say that, I would be like, what you mean embrace? There ain't nothing to embrace about, there's nothing to embrace about this, but we learned to really understand what that meant. Feel whatever you need to feel. Cry if you need to cry. If you need to vent, whatever the case is, seek the help that maybe we can't give one another to help cope and get through those things. Because for me, I'm one of those people, it's like it happened and I'm like, okay, when can I go back to work? I work for myself. So, and she's like, you want to go back to work when? I was like, tomorrow. She's like, that's completely up to you, but just don't overdo it. And I'm like, okay, I'm good. And then it happens again. And then you're just like, I think it's like a reminder of the first time. And so it's way worse. So then you kind of slow into it, but then here you are a year later and you're depressed and you don't know why, because you feel like you've kind of dealt with everything, but you really haven't. And so being that you have that best friend, your husband or your wife, you're like, okay, he's gonna sit me down and tell me, this ain't gonna work. Like, you need to go outside. Like, you need to go do something. All you're doing is working, tending to our son, and then helping everybody else and talking to everybody else and helping them. But you're not, and I'm able to tell him, like, hey, because my husband, he's the fitness guru. He was on The Biggest Loser, Robert Richardson. You can find him on Instagram, Transformation Fit. And so, Fit Rich. So he's big into the working out and eating right and losing over 180 pounds. And so he used the gym to kind of get himself off of that, feeling depressed. But then there's a point where God's like, no, I need you to be still. Like, you can do that. You could juice all the juices and heal all the people. But when are you going to be still?
Right.
Like, you can't just be still when you at the red light, or be still when you're about to take a shower. Like, when are you going to be still and listen to what I need to pour into you? Because you still need to be filled. And so going back to the initial question of in sickness and health and mental health, it draws you to be stronger because it shows you what you're made out of. It shows you that you embrace the process. Your best friend's able to tell you, hey, I see this. I think you need to do this, and vice versa. Because we can't see ourselves. We're just in motion. And they can see us and we can see them. And so even in all of that sadness, it's able to build us up to be stronger, and then also to pour into other people. And so just remembering that you are the helpmate, and my prayer is always, Lord, you know me and you know your son. So help me to be the wife that you created me to be specifically for him, and help him to be the husband that you created him for me. And help me to love him as you would want me to love you. Sometimes when you upset, you like, no, I want to throw something at you. But you have to say, okay, well, it's cliche. What would Jesus do? Like, this is my son, but didn't I say that I'm in you? So whatever you're doing to him, you're doing to me, and whatever he's doing to you. And so when he told me that, I'm like, oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I was mad, but okay, I repent. Sorry. So when you think about it in that standpoint, you can kind of move through it better. And just having the wisdom of other people who have been married, or, who maybe they're not married, but they've been married, and they can kind of give you things to kind of help you. I always say, keep them seasoned folks around you, because they know some things. They will like, honey, this is not that serious. We ain't about to fight over that. What else is going on? Or what's the real issue? What are you mad about? So I feel like keeping the seasoned folks around, keeping God centered, and then having that quiet time, not to pray and talk about your husband and the Lord, because he already knows. It's for you.
Yes,
because
ma'am.
when you come to him for you, he's going to start working on you. And through him working on you, everything else starts to kind of, while you ain't even thinking about that, you talking to the Lord about you. Meanwhile, he's with you, but he's still in the midst handling all those other little things. So that's all I got to say about that. Thank you, Bree, for sparking that.
Yes.
I'm going to piggyback off of that. I remember in the beginning of my husband and I's marriage, we couldn't afford therapy. Therapy was not on our list. We didn't have anybody that we could go to. My husband, I felt very unseen. I've always felt I'm very, very unseen, especially with my husband is such a bright light, and he, everywhere we walk, everywhere we go, he, people, hey, he's so jolly. When you meet him, you just like, hey, that's a DK, And I'm talking and I'm in the room, but I'm really not in the room. But so for a lot of our marriage, and in the beginning of our marriage, to speak about prayer and talking to God, he was always my counselor. And we say that cliche, but I would literally use him as a counselor. Like, Lord, what do you want me to do? Like, I can't, we can't. I'm gonna leave. We're not gonna make it. That example was never seen in my life. Many of us have that particular story. Our mother and father wasn't together and things like that. So we both had come from that. So we never had that example. So using that prayer closet was basically my main thing. And just talking to God like he was just right there. What do you want me to do with him? How do you? And normally, most of the time, he worked on me. He never, never. When I say never, I will always have to be the humble one.
Yes.
And say, I'm sorry. And I think even in my ministry, I'm able to tell the person that I'm sorry because of my marriage. Mm-hmm. I'm able to be the first one to apologize. Hey, if I offended you, if something, because he broke me then. Because it was so unfair. It's not right. It's so unfair. It's him. He's the one, and he will always tell me what I did, or for peace sake. It was, for peace sake. What you gonna do without him? I'm like, listen, I come from Sharon P. Hammer. She was single. I got a degree. And it was always that, that sassy Tina. That my grandma's name is Tina. Tina would come out like, what you mean what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do it. I mean, I ain't gonna die because I ain't with Tina,
Right.
But in obedience, but what you're gonna do outside of your purpose, outside of our purpose is connected. When we got together, it was a decision.
Yeah.
Woo. It was a choice. It wasn't because I love him. It was not just because, I love him. It was because we need to leave a legacy. It was a decision that we made and a commitment that we made from the jump. Because at the end of the day, at 22, 23 years old, I didn't know if I was completely in love with him. I was 100% scared. Mm-hmm. I was scared to get married. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. So it was a decision. Mm-hmm. So I decided, although I love my husband and I loved him at the time, and he was we were romancing and loving each other and being with each other. We were doing the things. I hop in, and that's all we can afford. Every now and then a Red Lobstering. That was our first real date. Valentine's Day, we went to Red Lobster in Jackson, Mississippi.
Okay.
So it was a decision to be married. It was a commitment. And that decision continues to be a decision and a choice every year, every hard place, every hard time. Every time we fuss and fight, they alive, they tell you they don't never fight. You lying. Mm-hmm. They lie if they tell you they always disagree. They always agree. You lying. Mm-hmm. And so we just learn how to pray through pain. In the time of peace, we prepare for war.
Mm-hmm. That's good. In a time of peace, prepare for war. Tell us about that. That's what we want. Yes.
So in the time of peace, prepare for
war. A little spill since you.
Yeah, that little spill. The day. So when we adopted that particular mantra, in the time of peace, prepare for war. So we learn how to talk about hard things when we're not mad. When we're not, when we are calm, when we're upset, when we're not upset. We learned that because when everything is good, everything is fine. We at dinner, we having a good day. He passed and he slapped my butt and I passed, and one of them days. Hey boo, hey, I love you, and so during that time, I would say, hey honey, that time that you said this really, and before that would be like, man, why you got to bring up that? We good, we cool, why is we good? Why you even bring because we can hear each other.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. We can consider each other. He can hear what I'm saying, and I can hear what he's saying during that time. I'm not on a defense mode. I'm not offended. I'm not I'm not pursuing the conversation from a level of offense, but it's going to take me a while to get there. If I end up getting there, it's still going to take me a while. At least I heard the beginning of the conversation in the peaceful time, if so. It took some practice. It took us adopting that mantra or adopting that. But we would at least, especially during date night or dinner or something like that, we would bring it up at least, one hard thing. And we talk about it, we leave it alone. Hey, okay, good. I'm glad you told me, honey. We working on it. All right, we here forever. We're doing life together. We grew up together.
Yeah.
I'm almost 40, and I was married at 20-something years old, younger 20s. So we had to grow up together, and then we're raising children together. It's a whole nother different season. Teenagers together. Lena, you said that, during the pandemic, everybody went through something. So during the pandemic was the time when my husband and I were the closest, because we had a teenage daughter that had to go through the pandemic and the things that she had to go through. And she shared some of her stories, suicidal, things like that. And so we had to be together at a front, unbreakable, so that we had to agree so tight, because we had to be steady in a lot of people's storms, including our child. So we set up a rhythm, we set up a routine, our health. We went to bed at the same time. We took a shower. I mean, as far as at the same time every night, we took a shower. I took my shower at a certain time. He took a shower. Like we were on a stress-free routine, so that we can make sure our prayer time was at the same time. I'm talking about each of us had to set up a routine and a rhythm, so that we can just be a steady, somewhat of a steady, and cancel all the noise, all the distraction.
Yes, ma'am.
We did it for some people, and we couldn't do it for everybody, but we graced ourselves enough for the people that we could do it with. And for the people that we couldn't, we didn't have no more to do it for. So that during that time, we were the closest. So I thank God through that time for sure.
That's so good. Oh, that's so good. Like you helping us, sister. You're helping us. You're helping us. You said cancel the noise, and so I guess that leans into my next question. Like, how do you protect those sick moments from outsiders? Because we talked about in sickness and in health, and how do you protect those moments? Those moments that we're pretty much vulnerable to just anything. How do you protect those moments from outsiders? And at what point do you know when to get help?
Yeah. I can kind of speak to that too. Oh, go ahead, Bree. Go ahead.
You could go ahead.
I can kind of speak to that just from what Lena said and what Sharon said. Through the pandemic, my husband had some serious health things going on, and when it comes to sickness and health, physical health for sure, came up heavy during the pandemic. He was actually diagnosed with diabetes at the age of 5. So he was dealing with physical stuff before I even came around. But in 2020 is when it kind of like went in, because he has 2 diagnoses that are heavy on the kidneys. So he's now on dialysis at the age of 31. And at that time he was 29. So we had just made a year during the pandemic. And I'm like, I ain't going through all this in this first year of marriage. Like, this cannot be so. Like, 5 years ago, I would have run for the hills. Like, I'm not dealing with this. I don't have to deal with this. It is not, when it was just me, I have no problems. I had nobody relying on me. I had to worry about none of that, so it was very difficult. It was an adjustment. And it was ultimately like, when you pray for refining, you have to be prepared for however you're going to get refined. And I was not prepared for however God wanted to refine. I was like, you know what? refine me, but can I pick and choose in which areas you want to refine me? Because I like how you're refining me over here, but how you're refining me right here, I can't do it. And when you speak those vows to that person, and this could be for married, single, whatever. When you speak those vows, you better mean it, because at the end of the day, whether it comes early or late, it's coming. You know what I'm saying? And as far as keeping those sick moments, you said quiet, or as far as keeping, you have your village, you have your people, you have the individuals that you go to where you can be honest, where you can be vulnerable without judgment, when you can tell them, like, I'm going crazy, I'm about to go crazy. Like, and it's kind of like, I tell my husband all the time, I said, you don't want to, as far as action, when I'm spinning my head all the way around like the exorcist, that's when there's action. So I want to be able to go to those people when I'm having the moments that I have nothing left.
Right.
When I have nothing to give and I'm completely empty. I want to be able to go to my sister, go to my brother, my friend, to tell them exactly what's going on. And those are people that you can trust, that your business is not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
You can trust that you'll tell them something and they'll tell you what you need to hear rather than what you want to hear.
Correct.
Challenging you, calling you out on your own stuff. Because there are times where I was kind of just like, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to be married to somebody who's on dialysis. Like, what? I had to get the knowledge for myself. Because I didn't recognize how serious this was. And fear is a real thing when your spouse is going through a physical challenge. Fear is a real thing. And when I tell you, it can be crippling.
Yes.
To where you feel like you can't take the next step forward, but there's always a next step forward to be taken. And that was 2 years ago. Like the last 2 years, then we didn't blink and we right here. So, I had to be able to be transparent in those moments with the people who hold me accountable, with the people who keep me in prayer and hold me up when I feel like I'm about to be falling apart.
Good.
Two people are on this call. Like, I had to go to them, and even when I'm not going to them, they're like, "Hey, what's going on with you?"
Okay.
Yeah, this is big on that. Like, "Hey, I'm checking in." If she got me the other day, I didn't text her back. She was like, "Hey, what's going on?"
And it's important that you be honest. That you be honest with them. You know what I mean? So we always have to keep that place. I love that, what you just said. We always have to keep that place of vulnerability, and just being honest. Not just at a point of, not through expectation. Like, sis, I don't expect you to do that, but you did. And let me be honest with you, because it must be God. Like, let me be honest with you. I'm not all right. This and this and that is happening. So if you could just pray with me or whatever, or what do you think? Because I just prayed about this. Just that piece of being honest. Like, sis ain't checking in on you for you to give her a blessing. I'm not okay, but it's all right. I prayed about it. Like, you not okay, but you want to be by yourself. Like, so that's so good. That's good.
Praying, I had to be honest with God. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to say. I don't know. I know you looking at me and I'm looking at you. We looking crazy. I'm looking crazy right now. Like, I have to be honest about how I feel in that moment. And even though I know his word, even though I know everything that he said is going to come to pass, I know that there's an other side of this storm that I'm in. I know this already. But in the moment, I'm just not trying to hear that. You know what I'm saying? I want to be in my stuff. I want to move how I want to move and make decisions how I want to make them. And God is like, how dare you? Like, how dare you challenge me at my word? And he's like, watch this. I'm gonna show you. Since you want to challenge me, I'm gonna show you. And he showed me. Okay, he's been showing me. Every time I have to question whether he's there or not, there's always someone speaking life into me. There's always someone to be a messenger from him. In the times where I'm questioning whether or not I can make it through or not.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whenever you talked about, like, I guess covering those moments,
Mhm.
I always say discernment is key, boundaries are key, because discernment is just to know who, and I always go back to Jesus, but that moment when he was in the garden, he initially had all 12 with him, and
Mhm.
then he left some back. He took Peter, James, and John with him, and then he went a little bit further, and they had some spots where it was just him,
Mhm.
and God. And so you're gonna have different people who are appropriate for different times.
Mhm.
Whenever it comes down to marriage, sometimes you're gonna have people that anybody could support you through that one. You got your village, and they coming, and then there are times where you may have to walk through it with your spouse, because God might be trying to teach you to lean on your spouse,
Mhm.
or them to lean on you.
Mhm.
And then there are other times where God will send people. I believe in the seasons, but I also realize that it's so important that if you do, always lean on somebody who loves your spouse just as much as they love you.
Mhm.
So
Um,
good.
and that's huge, because a lot of times you can lean on your people,
Mhm.
and they'll be ready to take you and leave your spouse, or your spouse can leave on their
Right.
people. They'll be ready to take them and leave you.
That's true.
But somebody who has a heart for you guys as a whole,
Mhm.
somebody who has a heart for that union, somebody who is connected with the purpose that's on your marriage, and they're gonna see past you.
Jesus.
Because if I can come to you and you can support me, but can you breathe life into the purpose of this marriage?
Mhm.
If there's a struggle in it,
Mhm.
because if you're trying to advise me towards me, like everybody on this call said, we go to God and God turned the mirror on us.
Mhm.
So sometimes you need people that's going to reflect that, and sometimes it's good to hear where I'm right at, but I know that already. That's probably what got me in this mess, being hyper aware of where
That's
I'm
it.
right. So all you're doing is just echoing what's already ringing in my ears, and fueling the flames. But sometimes to have somebody who's also going to see beyond that, and to be able to hear from God in that moment, to say, hey, whoa, take notice of this, or take notice of that, or redirect you to the word. Because that amen corner, it's tempting, but it could actually do more harm than good, and you also uncovering, um you can be uncovering some of those sensitive places. Some Not everybody is worthy of your story.
Mm. Woo.
Not everybody is
Yeah.
worthy of that story. So you have to be careful as to whose hands you place it in, because it's fragile.
Yeah.
And so whenever you start pulling that cover back over those sensitive things, you just have to be very, very wise, and use that keen discernment as to somebody who God has implanted a word in them for
Right.
your current situation, and that's not just gonna, like I said, going to be in the amen corner.
Yeah.
That's good.
So good.
Woo. That is so good. So
You know,
good.
when my husband has, with covering my husband and covering our spouse, especially in a time of sickness, um, not just in sickness, but like you said, health and physical and all of that. When your husband is wrong, he wrong, and he wrong out there,
Mm.
he wrong outside, you know, and and people looking at you like, what you gonna do? And my husband the same way. When I'm wrong outside.
Mhm.
And so Taylor, like when you said that you deal with, like, you the queen of don't play me out there.
Yeah.
Mm.
Shame,
Don't
like
embarrass.
I need to
Yep.
look like this, or look like I done put you here,
Mm-hmm.
and then I done took a picture with you, and then you gonna go outside and act a fool. It can happen both ways. It has happened both ways with me or my husband. Um, and may have said something wrong, or maybe, and the way that we cover each other is that we know that in that moment, for the both of us, we know in the moment, it's not, our ministry is not defined, our our mission, our marriage is not defined by just a moment that we had. So we'll try to, like you said, be honest with one another and say, hey, you have to go to that person and apologize, or we'll try to cover one. We don't make excuses for each other,
Yeah.
but we do that behind closed doors. Everybody don't have to see that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Like, you just gonna let him, or she or him, you just gonna let her. Everybody don't have to see us hashing out where we went wrong with each other, or where we went wrong with them. And everybody is not gonna see that. Not. Some things are meant for in your house, in your home, between the two of you.
Right.
Everybody don't have to see how we got back to this place again.
Because
Like,
you'll be past it in the world, still be freeze frame.
Right.
like, you remember that time, and when
Right.
she said, and he said, and we like, wait a minute, we do you understand? Like,
Water under the
we're
bridge.
married.
Yeah.
The culture has made that okay. Like, culture has just said, and I talked about this not that long ago with a friend of mine. Culture has made toxic a thing. Like, let's be toxic together. And I've overheard somebody say, yeah, but they're toxic, so am I. So, I mean, it's cool. No, it's not.
Yeah.
So if somebody kills somebody, that's going to be okay because y'all both were toxic. And because you just called her out, and not just her, your wife or your husband, you've disrespected them on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And so now you're looking at other people like, why y'all looking at us crazy in Walmart? Well, they gonna look at you crazy in Walmart because you was acting crazy on the internet.
Yeah.
And I don't believe in those old songs where they say, well, a man does this, but when you come home, he do this, so that's okay. No, I'm sorry, Betty, this is not Shirley. And Barbara, I am not Shirley. And Shirley is not Barbara, because me, I am who I am. So no, don't come at me as a woman.
That's
and
okay.
I don't want nobody coming at my husband like I'm coming to you like a man. I think we've made it okay.
Right. And the way that you treat your husband, or the way that you treat your spouse in public, gives other people permission.
Exactly.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Give other people permission to do the same.
Wow.
So if I disrespect my husband in front of you, I just gave you permission to disrespect my husband.
Wow.
And then we have the
My
nerve to be
husband.
mad. I said, and then we have the nerve to be mad.
And then we bad.
Right.
And so then if he disrespects me in front of people, that just gave you permission to disrespect me. So the way that we treat each other sets the tone and the boundaries and the guard for how other people should treat us, especially in front of us. Especially in front of us. Because we people think that, oh, I can just go to him and not go to her, or I can just go to her and not go to him. But you don't think we lay together in the bed every night? Like, I eventually, and although we can disagree, however, what we're not going to do is allow or give you permission to treat him or I. And I think that's kind of like in the question is like, how do you cover one another? Our ministry is displayed to one another.
Yeah.
With how other people should treat us.
Yeah.
Individually as well.
Yes.
And look, and I'm not a person who stamps everybody to be Proverbs 31 woman. I feel like she had servants, so she had some help. But one of the parts of that scripture that I do appreciate, it said her husband is known in the gates. And so that means that the honor that she bestowed is like the manner in which she carried herself created a reputation for her husband.
That's right.
And so that sense of honor, that sense of, and God created us different. He created men and women different. So our values, our battles and our struggles are different. And that sense of honor for each other, that sense of holding each other in high regard.
Right.
And even sometimes being able to see your spouse even higher than, because because the battle of marriage is this: we all right now we seeing each other and hearing each other at our best. You know, we taking all our lessons, we taking all our understandings, and everybody is seeing us in some of our highest form and our highest of understanding. Our spouse sees us in the full spectrum. So they see us at the lowest in the most uncomely moments, and then we see them at their lowest and uncomely moments. And the challenge that God gives us is, I want you to see him at the highest, even at times when you're experiencing the lowest.
Wow.
You know, can you still regard him as a king, priest, prophet, even whenever he's just being a boy or just being a dude, or just, or getting on your nerves, or going through dialysis, or, and where he doesn't seem like the Hulk at that moment, or, he's in the chambers and you seeing him at his weakest moments. But it's almost like that moment that Gideon had, where the angel called him man of valor, but he was hiding. And so it sets the tone, and it has to become a culture within our relationships. And it's not easy because we see each other's humanity. It's just like with Jesus, man. The Pharisees, they just saw him as a carpenter's son. Like, who are you? But when he looked at Peter, and he was like, but who do you say that I am? And sometimes our spouses, and we look to our spouses and we ask that same question: who do you say that I am? The whole world may look at me as just this guy or this woman or this, but who do you say that I am? And whenever you like, hey, you're a son of the king, or you're this, or you're that, their whole nature, that identity within them, it changes, and then who reaps the benefit of it? You as a wife. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Good. That's good. Ooh, y'all helping somebody today.
Right.
Yes, indeed.
I also want to just chime in from not an engaged place, but a single place. I think that when we walk and when we are dating, a lot of times we have not been taught to date. And I talked about this in Overcoming. We have not been taught how to date, how to court. We have not been taught. And I'm going to say, for me and my generation as millennials, we have not. So we don't understand, what does that look like? So then you find yourself with someone that has no type of purpose, but they treat you right. So you feeling like, oh, they treat me good, so this is okay. Not necessarily knowing that they don't even know what purpose is. So then you connected yourself to someone and something, and then more so you get deeper, you get intimate with this person. And so now whatever they got going on, you got going on, not understanding you're battling some of their demons and what they're walking through, because you've gotten into this place and now you have to unlearn some things that you have been taught in a previous relationship. And then you start carrying that into relationship after relationship, or this person after this person after this person. And then you find yourself like, okay, so what's next? And really the question is, what is next? What is next when you don't know how to go to the next level in learning yourself and unlearning learned behaviors that was taught even as a child in a home, or while you were out with your friends? Some of the things I never seen in my household, but I learned it from being at somebody else's household. I was not introduced to sex in my household, but I was introduced to sex in somebody else's household, when it was never something that I was supposed to see, and I was never ever supposed to walk through that. But those are the things that we don't talk about, are getting into a marriage and you're married to this person and this person don't know that you were molested or sexually assaulted or abused. And then you are having to explain these things on why you are the way that you are. And I'm big about stuff like that, especially dealing with behaviors. And those that work in foster care can understand. And each person deals with people on a daily basis that are in here. And we have learned behaviors because of what life has walked us through and what we have been taught. So then we're dating, and then we get married, and then we are two functional children in adult bodies doing things that we have learned and discovered as a learned behavior. And there were never things that we should have ever attached ourselves to. So
Yeah.
the biggest thing that I had to learn was to walk into my singleness. I never saw my mom single. My mom always, they were long relationships, but I've always saw her with someone.
Mhm.
So for me, it was like, okay, so this is what it looks like. In actuality, that's not what it was supposed to look like.
Mhm.
But I had to learn how to look at that and dissect it. Now, that took real work for myself. Now, when we talk about like, let's heal, let's be cleansed, God refine us, those
Mhm.
were the times that it was real refining. Those were the times that I really had to discover who I am. I don't like chocolate. I never liked chocolate, but I always got a chocolate cake. I don't want chocolate. I don't like
Mhm.
and I had to tell myself that's okay. I don't like pink, but I always got pink stuff. It's okay to say these things as an adult, but we are still, a lot of times, we are in a mentality that is still in a childhood, which is okay to be in, but we never grow out of that. So we
Yeah.
never learn how to actually be in a healthy marriage.
Yeah.
We never hear people having conversations to say, yes, marriage is hard, but you can get through it. We don't have it people to tell us, hey, you know what? We did disrespect each other at a point in time, and now we have to talk about it within our privacy of our own home. We
Yeah.
didn't have people that told us, hey, it's okay to cover your husband, even though you don't want to cover him. You have to cover him.
Yeah.
It's a difference in when you're learning that. And now I'm in a place, I'm a student right now. I'm not an assistant to my teacher, I'm really a student. You know how you go through these lives, these different places. Like I'm not trying to get my dissertation right now. I'm really just sitting back, I'm asking questions. I want to hear, I want to know. And it was funny because years before I was engaged, I would ask people, hey, so how do you feel about marriage? Like, tell me about it. I never asked my mom that though, but I was asking other people. And eventually I was able to see it. And now, Kabrina said this earlier, I'm able to call my mom and say, hey, mom, something happened and I really need to know how to handle it.
Mhm.
Because I was able to watch and
Mhm.
see and learn and understand. My mom had a failed marriage before her current marriage. So of
Mhm.
course that scared me. I didn't know what to expect. I'm like, I don't want a failed marriage. We never want to fail, but will if we never fail, will we experience success?
Mhm.
Who said failing is actually not success? Sometimes
Yeah.
you get those failures, you find your successful moment. And I've learned that. But I just feel as you are walking through that time of being single, it's a
Mhm.
time to unlearn and not
Yeah.
get into a place of doing it when you are married. And I've seen people do it and they tell me all the time, it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, so now you're coming with your stuff, they're coming with their stuff, and now y'all have stuff. So
Mhm.
stuff in the middle, and it's hard. So I think a lot of, if millennials would, it's kind of like a hard shifting of mentality that
Yeah.
love properly is amazing. You don't
Mhm.
have to be toxic to know somebody that loves you.
Mhm.
Your my fiance hasn't been with 1,000 women. His list is not a foot long of that, and that's okay, right? That's
Right.
that's okay. We don't have children. Neither one of us have children that's coming in. That's okay, not having premarital sex. That's okay. That's it's fine. And when you do have conversations, sometimes I do get the, hey, it's cool. It's not something that was given to you. It was given to me. And it's
Right.
my journey and it's my
Yeah.
walk. But being
Yeah.
okay with where you are in your time of singleness, and it's important what you do with that time in your singleness. Because everybody wants the wedding, but nobody wants the marriage.
That's right.
Mhm. Yeah. That's right. That's good.
Yeah.
Woo, yo. Yo, people are like in the comments, they're responding to you guys. I wish we were all in one big room so you
I
can
know,
hear
right?
everybody. Yes, awesome, awesome, awesome. That Charmaine said that is why we really need to take the time to work on ourselves before marriage.
Mhm.
True.
Yes.
That's true.
Definitely. Definitely.
And let me say this just to kind of balance the scales a little bit. Um, there are some things um in between. So in between divorce and remarrying, I had a
Mhm.
3-year period. and I did a lot of work. But I remember telling my husband, I was like, being back in the context of a relationship is going to bring up some more stuff, and so you do as much work as you can while you're single, but expect some waves within that relationship, because it's a different level of vulnerability now that you've given yourself to that person. So that intentional work is so good. But I found myself in the midst of marriage with a lot of my deep stuff coming up. And it's like, oh, I have to face this, and even now, 4 years in, I'm going back into systems of how I was raised, and even in the setting of the church, and going back and having to challenge systems of thought and the way that I did things and the way that I viewed things. And so, be intentional about that work, and then also know that once you're married, that level of vulnerability is going to kind of cause you to have another level of work, and then seasons bring out more things, so
So in Matthew 19, and I wanted to bring it up, and I'm not going to be, I just wanted to bring this up. I love this verse, and I wanted to bring it up so that I can read it right. And I love it so much, but it says, but Jesus said, not everyone is mature enough to live a married life.
Wow.
It requires a certain aptitude and grace. Marriage is not for everyone.
Wow.
And then in verse 13, and then it says, but if you're capable of growing into the largeness of marriage, do it.
Wow.
So that's Matthew chapter 19. If you're capable of growing into the largeness of marriage, do it.
Wow.
It's a process through the whole time. The whole things that you didn't know that was there comes up. It's just like you just said, different seasons of life that brings up different things, different pressures that you didn't know that was there, another level of humility that you need to go through, another level of, blessed are the humble, for they shall see God. That's fine. I see God, but then God wants you to see him more clearer. So then you have to have another level of humility. So my 20 humility is not my 40 humility, and my 40 humility is not my 50 humility. It's just different seasons and different levels. So the girl that you knew 20 years ago is not the girl that I am now. I'm evolving. The girl that you knew 2 months ago, or even last week, I had some things said and talked to me about. It's just the seasons and the ability to like you said, T, I want to grow. I want to learn. And when that's your dangerous prayer, all your stuff is gonna come up. And then you have to be woman enough to challenge yourself and say, okay, I'm not going to be ashamed of this. I'm just going to grow up. It's just a season that I'm in. I can't go to the next season operating like this.
And it's so funny that you say that today. I literally had a conversation with my mom, and I'm no longer a runner. And what I say as a runner is some get just shaken up off I put my shoes on and catch me on the next flight. And at that moment, I literally had to remind myself of, hey, wait, remember when you prayed, or remember when you asked, or remember when you asked for that? And that's another part of the refining, the cultivating, the be freed from impurities that you're like, And sometimes I'm like, I will tell God, hey, I'm going to put it on the shelf today. Call me tomorrow. Like, I'm going to do it tomorrow. I promise. And sometimes he's like, no.
Do it right now. Yeah.
I need you to do it today. I need you to call and I need you to apologize.
Yeah.
I need you to say, you know what? I'm sorry. And no, I'm not perfect. And I like to talk. So I know now I'm going to have to wait and be more and listen. And not just listening, but active listening.
Yeah.
They teach you in school. Hey, no, you're listening. No, are you actively listening? You tell your kids every day, turn on your listening ears, baby. Turn on your listening ears today.
Yeah.
Turn them on. And then earlier, Sharon and Brie both said something about vulnerability. And earlier I wrote, you have to allow yourself to be vulnerable. And that was something that going into a new relationship that I had to constantly tell myself, constantly, hey, you have to be vulnerable. You have to be vulnerable. You have to be vulnerable. And it's okay to be vulnerable and get corrected. Because people feel like once you get corrected, you're like, well, I don't want to be vulnerable no more.
Yeah.
Well, why are you trying to be vulnerable?
Yeah.
If you're still being corrected, that does not mean that something was wrong. It means that you just need to get back into alignment.
That's it.
Yeah.
And you have to be okay with that.
And it's a moment. It's not your whole ministry.
Yes.
It's not your. And I wrote that. And it's just because somebody was talking earlier. It's not your message, and it's not your ministry.
Yeah.
It's a moment in your life. And when you, like we're saying about marriage, my husband and I know that. Other people may not know that. So like Brie or like Katrina, like I was saying, when we're speaking life into our husbands and what they shall be and not just who they are, it's like when they walk on the stage or when they walk up and put their pants on, and or when they lean it, like when your husband lost all that weight, it's like, wait, y'all seeing this manifestation, but I've been praying for this. This is something that I spoke. This is something that I heard God as I prayed for myself. We're the first benefit of that. And it's just like y'all get the benefit now, but I reciprocate, because I prayed him into that. We nurtured him into that.
That could be a shirt.
Good. That's good.
But you the one who got it first.
Right.
You the one who got the negativity from him. So you have to you got in your closet and you pray him into the grace that he's given others. That you wasn't even receiving at the time. I prayed for him to be gracious to me, to love me, to be nurturing to me. Now that not only does he do it for me, but he can do it to you. He can do it for you. I prayed him through so that we can live in the largeness of marriage, so that we can leave a legacy. So it's not just a legacy for our children, but it's a legacy for so people can see it through us. So we don't let moments define us. We don't let seasons define us. Just because you think I reacted or he reacted or responded to life in a certain way right now, that's just for right now. You caught me at the season. Thank you for being honest. Thank you for letting me know. Thank you, because I want to learn. But
look, when in doubt, zoom out. Look at the big picture. Look at the longevity of it. Yes.
Wow. Ooh, y'all.
And I wanted to say, just from kind of to piggyback off of what Taylor and Sharon was saying, we kind of choose, when you said about millennials dating and not taught to date, not taught to be married, what's successful, what's right, what's wrong, whatever, we ultimately choose trend over truth in a lot of situations. Like Tate said, she's a runner. That's your trend. But at the end of the day, God pulls you to the side and like, I need you to, ain't no running today. Like we choose what's convenient at the time. We choose that instant gratification from our spouse or a fiance or whatever. But when they're not providing that, oh, you make me feel so good. You make me do this. You make me feel like I can be honest. When they're not giving that, it's kind of like, wait a minute. Now the work comes in. Now the truth comes in. And you have to provide the space for your spouse, for your husband to be soft, to be vulnerable, to be. And our generation does not provide that space. They're not allowing a safe space for men to be vulnerable, to be honest, to show their scars, to address some of the things that they've been.
That's alive within itself right there.
Yeah, listen, because when you said, Kabrina, about before you talked about vulnerability, you said trend over truth.
Trend over truth, yes.
That's a shirt.
And when immediately when I heard that, I think of just conversations. Like I told you, I love TikTok. So I think of our dating life, right? And I think of just people being in this area, and you said instant gratification. What I've noticed is that people don't identify, and this is might be a little too heavy, with their weaknesses like lust. That's
Mm,
never talked about.
Right.
Right.
yes, ma'am.
That when your whoever is not giving you what you want, you start lusting over something that is a desire that is never supposed to be what you got. So then you find yourself in a situation that you're caught up in,
Right.
but you had a lustful spirit, but you never identified with that. You never talked about that. It was never something that you brought to your leader or your pastor or somebody that's covering you. So then you're walking in a place, well, I done got married. I never dealt with this. So now you're married and you and your husband are walking through a difficult season, and you may not be giving him what he needs and vice versa. And then you find yourself in a situation that, oh, wait, I was never supposed to get here.
Mm-hmm.
I never dealt with this instant gratification of what I need.
Yep.
And I've learned to learn in the processes. Yes, now I have someone that can clap for me when I don't know how to clap for myself. But I also had to do it in my single season because I once was single. And I had to learn how to tell myself I'm still beautiful without nobody else telling me.
Right.
And
Yes.
that for a woman, and when I'm talking to different women or girls, how many can go in the mirror and look at themselves and tell themselves, I'm beautiful, I'm worthy, I'm all of this stuff without crying or even hesitating to say it?
Wow.
And when I learned that, I'm like, that's a big self-esteem thing.
Mhm.
And so then you find yourself in these situations like a little girl, but you're an adult wanting that instant gratification,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't have it.
Right.
Wow.
And it becomes an issue.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh my God. Oh, y'all, this is so good. This is so good. It's can you believe it's 8:30? Like it's 8:30. So we're gonna wind down for tonight. And so before we kind of wrap this up, I wanted to see if any of you have any final comments regarding the things that we talked about, maybe a word of encouragement or something that you might have thought about early on and didn't get a chance to share. How do you guys want to wrap up tonight?
Well, it's Mental Health Month,
Come on.
Mental Health Awareness Month,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
and again, my daughter has been transparent in the seasons that we've walked through. So I've always gotten permission from her when we talk about these things. But the only thing that I would like to say for anyone that is watching this, to any mother, I know this is girl talk, but if a dad is listening or anything like that, is that God and therapy for you, your marriage, and your child
Yes.
is up at the utmost importance.
Yes.
When you're casting out spirits, when you have the anointing oil, when you praying and all of that, be sure to schedule your appointment
Yes,
for
ma'am.
your therapist as
Mhm.
well. You talk to your pastors if you have them, make them aware of what's going on, because they spiritually govern, guide, and guard you spiritually. And it's a spiritual battle first. And so, if for the parents that's dealing with teenagers, I want to say again, I didn't know that we were going to get here. So when we sending our child off to Europe, buying her a car, when we are giving her whatever she wants for graduation, I don't care what anybody else says, because you was not there.
Mhm.
You was not there
Mhm.
when we were going through the things, all the things as a mother. And I couldn't, like Miss America, like Miss USA, the mama, she did everything that she could and still couldn't save her child. Listen, pay attention to your children, pay attention to yourself. I remember during that time, I didn't want to die, but I told God, I don't mind it.
Mhm.
I don't mind it. I talked about death all the time. You know, Daniel, I'm gonna die first. Death was a part of my conversation because I was tired. So then there is strength in God.
Mhm.
There is a find your people, find your person if that's your person. Find a therapist and schedule something. Look into your insurance. Obamacare is still alive and well. I'm just trying to figure it out. God is giving give you wisdom, and it may not be and the next step may not be the right step but if you keep taking the steps, he's going to guide them into the right direction.
Yeah.
So making sure that you keep your ear gate and your eye gate and your heart guarded at all times. It's just a real thing. So it's Mental Health Awareness Month. I want to make that known right here. If anybody watches to the end, it's an hour and a half. We be getting tired after 20 minutes. But if we get here and we fast forward, like, be aware of Satan and his devices first and foremost. It's a spiritual battle. And then get you a therapist, get you somebody to talk to, and then find your fit. Find your therapist that fits you. Don't just give up at the first person that you don't feel like this talking to you and all this other stuff. I don't feel like I couldn't connect. You just like you go to a different church to find your pastor or find your people, you got to find your therapist too.
Right.
Come on.
So, and then you find it until you get there. And I don't put therapy over Christ. Christ Jesus is the one who helped my child and the one who helped me. Him alone. He guided me to the therapist. He because of the routine prayer life. I was seeking him.
Yes.
Whatever you want me to do, I'm gonna do it. So I'm saying that in the forcedness and the preacher mama voice, because it's a serious thing.
Yes.
Suicide is taking us, our kids out. We are women are drawn to the bottle, a bottle of wine, being glorified more and more because we want to anesthetize the pain that we're in. Liver, all of that, our stuff is going, our health is going up as women because we got to have a bottle of wine at every situation, every circumstance, everything that we get into. We got to come home and pour it up. We don't have to do that.
Right.
It's a depressant. So if you already depressed, you're going to take some. So.
Yep. That's it. Yep. That's it. That's it.
Say lie.
Yes. Yes. Anybody else final comments? Thank you for sharing that, Sharon, because that was kind of leaning to our last questions, before our time ran out. We were going to talk a little bit about, depression and, how our mental health, how our physical health can affect our mental health and vice versa. And so if anyone of you want to share a little bit about that in your final spiel, go ahead. But like, seriously, find a therapist. Jesus and therapy works. I know for sure. Okay.
And I'll say this too. Because a lot of times we do encourage people as far as going to therapy. And I'm so glad that she said don't say it. She said just say Sharon. But Pastor Sharon is a person that's in leadership that can say those things, because my thing is always to the church. Demons are real, spirits are real. But at the same time, trauma is too.
Yep.
Pain is too. And sometimes being sensitive to that when people come to you. So we have to, I'm really a big proponent of being careful as to what we say and how we say it, and some of those colloquialisms that we use,
Uh-oh, Bree, we lost you there. We can't hear you. Bree, we can't hear you.
There we go. Sorry, it said something about losing connection to my mic. But so I know you can't counsel a demon and you can't cast out the flesh. But we are spirit, soul. We're 3-part beings, and we have to take care of that soul. The Bible says, I wish above all things that you would prosper, even as your soul prosper.
Yes.
He wants you to be in good health. And so sometimes just being mindful of the things that we say that could discourage and make people feel that if they go to counsel, they don't have faith or they're not a good Christian,
Right.
and just being sensitive and telling people it's okay to pray and go sit on that couch, because that couch can save lives, And so that's it. And y'all, if I just jump off of here, it's because my phone is dead.
Oh, okay. All right. Anybody else have any final remarks before we shut down?
I have something just from kind of what Bree said. I wrote down, well, for Bree and Sharon for sure. I wrote fighting the right way.
Mm-hmm.
So we all have our, we have our testing season, we have our waiting season, and after you figure out what you need to do in your wait, what you do in your wait will lead you to your promise.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, fighting the right way is what's most important. Fighting for your mental health, fighting for your physical health, fighting for your spiritual health. All of those things go into one. And if you're doing it the right way, eventually, after you've endured so many different things, the key is to endure those things. Because ultimately, if you don't endure it and you're waiting, you won't get to your promise. So fighting the right way is very important. Jesus in therapy, for sure.
That's good. So good. So good. Yes, indeed. Candace says, say that, Cabrina, that what you do in your wait will lead you to your promise. Come on.
Yes.
That's good.
Yes.
All right, ladies. Well, if no one has any other marks, thank y'all so much for joining today. Like, I've enjoyed listening to you guys' wisdom and your stories, and it's blessed me. It's blessed me. So I'm sure it's blessed some of those that are in the comments, because they are cutting up. They are cutting up in the comments. Hey, Janae. Awesome. So, guys, that concludes our girl talk on tonight. And guys, if you need any type of support, please don't hesitate to reach out. Okay. Listen, we know therapists, if there's any specifics that you might need, please reach out. We know therapists. I know some. Bree knows some. Bree's the director. What did you say? You're director of
clinical director at the Family Tree. Look, come see us. I
Yes.
have a whole team waiting on you.
Yes, she has a whole team. She has a whole team. All right, guys. So look, if you need anything, please reach out. If you need anything, I'm here for you guys, and these ladies are here for you. Join us next Sunday, not next Sunday, 2 weeks from now, the 29th. The 29th, we're going to have some more sisters on live. We're going to chat through, continue this conversation, and we're going to have a little fun. All right. So thank y'all so much. Thank you, ladies. I love y'all.
Ladies.
Bye.
So much. And y'all have a good night. Okay.
Good night.
All right.